This is TWiT.
All right, let me talk about this. This is a cute little computer. This is kind of a surprise announcement from Microsoft. This is the Surface Go, the smallest Microsoft Surface tablet, but it's very much like other Surface tablets. It is that magnesium deposition material. It's got the camera on the back. I love this kickstand. And like the newer Surfaces, this kickstand has infinite number of positions. It's smooth. So you can have it go down to as little as 15%, which is great for artists. It's an additional purchase, but you can buy a pen and draw on it. It's a really nice display. But the size, I'm going to show you just so you get an idea. It's the same size as an iPad. This is the iPad 10.5-inch iPad Pro. And it's pretty much kind of a similar screen. It's a very good quality screen that they're putting on here. By the way, I don't know if you noticed this when I opened the hinge. Did you see that? What's over here? This is one thing that the iPad does not do. That's a micro SD card. I was able to add 256 gigs of storage via micro SD card. That shows up as the D drive. Oh yes, this is Windows. It's Windows S when you get it, but you can turn that off very easily without even rebooting it. S, the idea is it's a little more secure. Oh, I just turned it off. Let me show you. It's doing Windows Hello. It's looking for me. Hello. Hello. There we go. I like Windows Hello. It's a fast, easy way to...
You like it better than Face ID? Because you don't like Face ID?
No, Face ID is better because Face ID handles... For instance, when I first trained Windows Hello, I trained it with my glasses on because I wear contacts during the show, but I trained it with my glasses on. It refused to recognize me without my glasses on until I additionally trained it some more, saying, okay, this is another look. Face ID kind of learns automatically all the different ways you might look, the different lighting and so forth. On the other hand, it is a really great way to unlock a PC. It just looks for you, and if it sees you, it unlocks it. This is Windows. First thing I did, of course, is I turned off Windows S. The idea of S is that you're more secure because just like an iPhone, you can only buy apps from Microsoft's store, but just like Android, you can disable it. So I did because I want to install, for instance, Google's Chrome browser, which is not available in the store. There's also some programs I use that are not in the store. On the other hand, I'm continuing to use Edge. Edge runs quite nicely. This is an interesting device because it is small. It's less expensive. It starts at $400, but for that you only get the 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 64 gig hard drive. I think you're going to want and by the way, that's an eMMC hard drive, which is a little bit slower. I think you're going to want... You want to play with this? Watch, This is kind of fun. I'll show you.
How do you turn it on?
Well, it is on. If you can also turn on the Snipping Tool and things like that. So if I press the pen button here, for instance, I can annotate. I can say, look at that. It's gonna. You've seen me do this on the Surface Studio. This is something I really like, and I think if you're an artist, which I'm not, much like the iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil, the Surface Pen and the nice angle that you can do with the kickstand on here makes this really kind of a great little portable sketch pad. This is all about portability. It's the smallest Surface. It's a 10-inch screen. It does not come with the keyboard. That's an additional cost. You're probably not going to even want to buy the base model, the $499 model. I think you're going to want to get it with 128 gigs of solid state, faster storage. You're also going to want to get the 8 gigs of RAM. I think Windows it'll run in 4 gigs, but it's really going to expect a little bit more if you want to do anything heavy duty. Let's close this out. It is touch. It's a 10-point touch Gorilla Glass. So, no, don't save the changes to the weather. No. Pixel Sense display at 1800 by 1200. It's very high resolution. That's 217 pixels per inch. That means it's a gorgeous display, really good color, 1500 to 1 contrast ratio. There's a couple of interesting things. Yes, it still comes. At first I was a little worried. I thought, oh no, there's the Surface connector charger. That's a proprietary Microsoft charger that goes right here in the side. It still comes with that, but it doesn't require it. I love this. There is one, just like the iPad has one connector. It's a Type-C, though, not Lightning, and it does have a headphone jack.
What?
But
is that round thing?
That round thing.
That's a headphone jack?
No, this is the headphone jack. You've heard of that? Have you ever heard of that? You put these in your ear and you connect the wire and you can hear the sound. But the Type-C connector will also charge it, as well as video and data. It's not Thunderbolt 3, I don't think, but it is still Type-C, which makes me very happy because I have a million Type-C chargers. You can get the additional... it uses the Connect port, so you don't have to power let's unconnect this. The little pogo pins here, so you don't have to power the keyboard. It is a backlit keyboard. I got the Alcantara, so there's I think it's $129 if you're going to get that nice soft touch. They also have a plastic one for a little bit less. I think it's $100. That's a cover. This is the type cover. So I bought that. You can buy a matching mouse as well. Notice everything is in this lovely burgundy. You won't need the mouse because this has a actually surprisingly good trackpad. If you've used a Surface before, you'll feel very comfortable with this setup. These are smaller keys. In order to fit this on the 10-inch screen, you've got to make the keyboard a little smaller. But I have to say, it didn't take me long to get used to it. I think you'll be able to type just fine on it. It has nice travel. I think these are nice keyboards. The only negative on this style of keyboard, and you'll know if you've used it from Microsoft or others, is because there's nothing behind it, it bends a little bit when you type, and that takes a little bit of getting used to. But on the other hand, once you're used to it, you might say, I don't have a problem with it. It has a headphone and microphone jack, so I should mention that you can also plug in a headset with a microphone on there. It's got a 1080p video camera, 5 megapixels, Windows Hello support, 8 megapixel rear camera, which will do 1080p video. That's pretty nice. Speakers are a little anemic, 2-watt stereo speakers. They say Dolby Audio Premium. I say tinny, tinny, tinny. But you're not buying this because of the great audio. You're buying it mostly because it's so light and portable. They're pitching this to a couple of different markets. Students who might want a full Windows operating system but want something as light and compact as an iPad. And you see, it really is kind of a nice thing to carry around. They're also pitching it to what Microsoft calls first-line workers in business. People maybe like airport ticket agents, people who deal with customers, people who don't need heavy computing but want something light and easily carried. This is perfect for that. I have to say, the things we were worried about on this were, one, performance. It's a processor we're not familiar with. Let me unlock it again. It's a processor we're not familiar with, the Pentium Gold processor, which Intel just kind of made up for this device. It's fast. It feels a little faster than an Atom processor, but I'll have more details for you when we do the full review because I haven't yet benchmarked it. The graphics, of course, are integrated Intel graphics, the HD Graphics 615. So it's not going to be super fast. The other question, but I think fast enough for most, in browsing, email, stuff like that, I didn't feel like it was slow. Again, I turned off S mode so I could use Chrome, but it didn't feel slow at all. The other question mark is battery life, and that I don't have a good answer for you because I haven't really had it long enough to test the battery life. They claim 9 hours of video playback. Others are saying, maybe it's half that, maybe it's 2/3 of that. I'll tell you more in a full review, which we'll do at a later time. But I did want to show you this because it just came in yesterday. This is Microsoft's Surface Go. You can buy it now, $400 for the version you don't want, honestly. $550 for the version you do want. That's 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gig SSD. And by the way, there are deals around. We've seen Costco and others selling a bundle for $549 that is a lower RAM model, 4 gigs of RAM, but does include the Surface type cover. So if you can live with less RAM, I don't know, maybe you'd be willing to go for that. I think 8 gigs of RAM is kind of a minimum for Windows. There's our chat room running on it. I think this is a great little device. It's so compact. The other thing that I might complain about, Microsoft still loves these big bezels, as you've seen on other Surface devices. I mean, tablets still have bezels. Look, there's the iPad, and it has big ears because you have to hold them. But I think there are plenty of manufacturers like HP, Lenovo, and Dell who are getting edge-to-edge displays on these. Wouldn't it be nice if you had the same size, same form factor, but maybe another inch of screen real estate because it went edge-to-edge, especially since this isn't something you're going to, with palm rejection and stuff. I just have a feeling Apple's next iPads will be almost bezel-less. We're in a bezel-less future. It would have been nice if Microsoft had done that, maybe in the next generation. Nevertheless, at this price, this size, it's a very cute device, and I think one I'll probably use a lot. As it's great. This is my chief use case for this thing. It's great for crossword puzzles.
Oh,
right?
Better than your iPad?
It's kind of similar to the iPad for crossword puzzles. Let me just launch the New York Times crossword puzzle, which is a Windows Store app. I'll take it off here. You can do this in portrait mode. And it really makes a great little crossword device, which will actually take pen input and turn it into text.
Oh.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And you can tap where you want to go. Let's see, a 4-letter word repeated in me blank s su blank. Well, if my Italian is right, I think it's casa, and then we'll write that in. And look at it, takes my typing and completely misinterprets it. I did it badly because well, here's another thing. I can also stretch this a little bit, make it a little bit easier to write. How about that? A S A. See if it understands my writing. Yeah, cursive.
Almost.
That's exactly what I was going for. Let's just do it.
Now is that
There we go. How about that?
Is that a cross-platform app? Like if you started your crossword puzzle there, could you finish it on your iPad?
I don't know. It is an account. That's an interesting question. You could do the same thing with the iPad, except I don't think it does the recognition like that. I think that's a Windows-specific thing. Oh, one other thing. No loop necessary. No special case necessary. As with all the Surface devices, this has got a pretty good magnet on there that'll hold the pencil in place. The pencil, oddly enough, is full size, so it seems kind of giant. It uses a quadruple A battery, and I think they've done a very nice job. It may be not quite as wonderful as the Apple Pencil, not quite as magical, but very close.
Now, can you get a third-party keyboard that's cheaper than that one?
You have to get them from Microsoft because it's a proprietary adapter, the smart connector on the bottom. But I think everybody who's going to buy this will probably end up buying the keyboard, unless you're completely tablet focused. What's kind of surprising, I thought this was a little bit of a surprise. It doesn't automatically, like a lot of these will go automatically into tablet mode when you disconnect the keyboard. This one doesn't. I probably could turn that on, but you can always manually turn on tablet mode. And tablet mode is probably preferable if you don't have a keyboard attached. I think they've done a really nice job with this thing. The Surface Go. Price is very aggressively aimed at the iPad. And unlike the iPad, this is a real Windows machine with all the available software for Windows. You're not stuck in the Microsoft Store if you don't want to be, because you can turn off S mode.
Plus the ports are aimed at the iPad as well, like no USB-C, no headphone jack on the iPad.
Yeah. Well, the iPad still has a headphone jack, although the rumor is it's disappearing. But it instead of Lightning, it has Type-C, which is, frankly, I think a more... it's a non-proprietary connector, and I think a more common connector. Just one connector, though. It's not exactly a dynamo. You might want to get a dock or something like that if you have Type A devices, things like that. I don't see people doing that a lot. I think this is really... Mostly, I'm just glad that I could charge with a Type-C. I think that's a really nice feature. I have Type-C. Basically, anywhere you sit in my house, you can plug in a Type-C cable and charge, because everything I have now, including my MacBook Pro, not my iPad, but everything but my iPad will charge over Type-C. That's the Surface Go, our first look. That's not a review, although I ended up probably spending as much time as I would with a review. I want to spend a little bit more time with it. I want to get back to you on battery life and performance. I think those are two question marks still. But so far, very impressed.